D, and I'm here broadcasting from Nairobi, Kenya. We've got Terrell Clayton, and I guess you can introduce yourself to the channel.
Well, I'm an expat myself. Left the United States. Went to South Africa. Back in the States right now, taking care of business. But banker by nature, teacher as well, but teacher of finances. And I'm a world traveler, so I love being out there, man. I love seeing what the world has to bring.
Yeah. So so far, did you say world traveler? What's your favorite country outside of America that you visited?
So for spiritual purposes, I actually enjoy Turkey more than I enjoy any other place. The walk down to Turkey, yes. So I was at Ephesus, I think it's called Ephesus. I don't want to say the name wrong, but I believe it's Ephesus. Ephesus, sorry, Ephesus. Where it was a beautiful place. Um, I also enjoyed Paris, just for the aesthetic point of view. But I can be able to say that South Africa probably has been my favorite. For personal reasons that I love that most people look like me, sound like me, and they tell me welcome home when I get there. So it's just a beautiful energy, beautiful space, everything. So I really enjoy that.
Piggyback off of like number one, being here in Nairobi, Kenya. I know what that's like. It's nice having other people of color, and it's a feeling of welcomeness. You know, um, it's nice. Like I'm currently in Kenya, and I came from Thailand, and I've been going to Thailand the past 4 years um, over the summer. And I'd say the diff. And here's the thing: I've been going there 4 years, and I don't have any contacts. None.
In
Here's a place where like the people are friendly, right? They're like respectful. But here's the problem. The problem is like they don't really mess with foreigners. Like if you really pay attention, right? Like unless they unless they're like selling you something or they're like taxi or something like that, like they're friendly. Like they don't. But if you actually like look at like, and it's not like a black thing. Like it's any foreigner, right? You do not see them hanging out, like just kicking it. You do not see that, right? So that's a crazy thing. So by the way, I see some people in the chat. I see Ann. Let's say hi to Ann. I see Bran. I see Summertime Learning. All right, so like say hi to everybody. Got 12 people in the chat. This channel, I'm Expat D. I'm here with Terrell Clayton. This channel is pretty much about traveling overseas. I'm currently in Nairobi, Kenya, traveling. Another thing I noticed that you said you were talking about Turkey. I have a funny story. Okay, about Turkey. Okay, when I was in years ago, right, like around 2010, um, I used to live in Syria. Okay, and that's Syria borders a lot of different places. I kind of regret there's a lot of places I didn't get a chance to go to. That was the bus ride away, like Lebanon, Jordan, and some other countries. Right, I didn't get a chance to go there, but I did drive to Turkey. Okay, and but funny thing about driving to Turkey, um, at the time, the job that I had, they gave you a car. So I was thinking like, and here's the funny thing about the car, it was like this super old Volkswagen. So I was thinking to myself, like when I was getting the job, I was, oh man, okay, here's a Volkswagen. I thought it was like humble, like, oh, I'm just so glad to have a car. Man, that car was like the oldest thing on the road. I thought I had prestige because I had a car. man, that thing was like that car was so old. It literally had like 400,000 miles on it. Right. So here's the thing. We drove it to Turkey, right? And the funny thing was it had a gas leak. So I was like, I was driving, I was like, oh, something doesn't smell right. All right. We ended up crossing the border anyway, right? And that man, if someone
Hmm.
would have like lit us like freaking
They
blew up.
exploded. Yes, yes.
So we stranded in Turkey and just some like random guy ended up fixing the car because the car ended up stopping. And some random and it's crazy because and this is like before Google Maps, this is before Google Translate, all that stuff. And we are
Okay.
just stuck out there and the guy fixed the car. I don't know what he did to it, but he got it to go. But we are like straight like
Wow.
when I look back, I mean, besides the fact that we were in Syria, right? Like right before the war. Right. I know, right. Like the crazy thing about being in a country in war, okay? The crazy thing is like you're trying to find out what's going on around the corner by watching like CNN or Al Jazeera, and they're broadcasting from like Qatar or Lebanon. So people from Lebanon is trying to tell you what's going on around the corner. Yeah, because I'm like they don't really know. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally like right there. I'm trying to figure out like how safe it is, and it's crazy. Yeah, sure.
Have a slower paced life or a faster paced life living in the type of environment that you do now, right? Because I can be able to tell you, like, living in the States, you have a type of go, go, go mentality, right? Right before we got on the call, I was like, hey, I'm watching the stock market. I'm thinking about what the trades market is doing. I'm thinking about what's going on, right? And then in the US, you're always constantly thinking about what's the next plateau. For me, when I go, international, I really get a chance to kick back, walk on the grass, wear some carpet rings, and kind of chill out. Like, how do you feel? Like, I digress on that. Go ahead, brother.
Lived in a lot of different countries, so it kind of depends on what I do. So I'll give you an example. Um, in in China, it's kind of a twofold.
Mm, wow, wow, wow. And was the money still good?
Yeah, but I went to work and I had a class at 11, and that was it.
Wow,
11 for like
wow,
an hour, and that was it. So
wow.
it's like in terms of like pace, right? In terms of pace, that's kind of a slower pace because I'm just kind of like I actually was like, man, I wouldn't mind having a little bit more more assignment, like because it'll help your day go by faster, right? Now on the flip side, right? When you look at like the Chinese, right? The Chinese were like they were like go 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 go. I was kind of like, man, we talk about like working hard. They're working hard and stressed. So they had it's like as some of these international like schools or situations, it's almost like a two-tiered system going on. Like we had two different schedules. Like the Chinese, they had to work until 5. I think they had to work until like 3:30. So it was like they had the stress and the pressure, like the states, maybe even more. Just like the expectation. but I didn't. And so the same thing here. Like, why not? It's almost like, here's the interesting thing, and this gets kind of deep because okay, let me break it down like this. I remember I asked the question, right? Like at the time I was there, my wife was working teaching math, right? And I was wondering, like, why does a Chinese person, I know this is like stereotyping, I was like, why does a Chinese person need a foreign math teacher? Because you know, like math is like their religion over there. Like they're all freaking good at math, right? Um, so here's the thing. Um, it's about when you do the international schools, right? It's about having the same track as it is to get into um, America. So they want like the transcript. It's all the American stuff. So it's like that being the case, the kids will be on two different tracks. They'll be like on a Chinese track, and then they could be on an American. So as you kind of had two different things going on at the same time.
You had students that was literally taught how to be farmers, how to be laborers, how to make sure that they work with their hands, and they pretty much would never retire, or what we call in the US retire, right? And then you had the other people that was on a fast track to go to the UK to enjoy school, or go to Australia to have a higher education. They may go to the United States to have some different type of foreign learning, and then they have a job for life. So that would, it sounds very similar, that no matter where you are in the world, that the United States is kind of the benchmark to what everybody does or how everybody sees things. Am I wrong about that?
2,000 a month, and you're like, well, dang, like what? You know, you went to Harvard for that. But here's the thing. Interesting thing that you said that I'll tell you an interesting twist on what you said. When I taught years ago in Ethiopia, okay, there was a test that the students had to take, and they had to take it. I believe it was like once they got to middle school, and that determined what track they went on. And it was either a track of like college track, or it was a track of like like doing something like hair and nails and plumbing, or that more of that route. So here's the thing, right? So here's the thing, they would hold the child back if they didn't feel like they're ready for that test. So when I was teaching, right, like a fifth grade class or sixth grade class, it would be 10-year olds, 11-year olds, 12, 13, 14, 15-year olds in the sixth grade or fifth grade. Yeah, yeah, because they were trying to like they were trying to delay taking that test. Yeah, yeah.
In China to relieve the stress, so I didn't want to leave them.
The thing is, it depends. Like in terms of like the naps and stuff. Um, like in the school I was in, I did not see that. And I heard that that's normal in Japan. I know like that them to do naps and stuff like that. Mine, uh, it might depend by the country and the type of school. Because the thing is this, um, when you are at an international school and you teach in China, they try to duplicate as much as they can what goes on in the States. So, like, the schedule's similar, a lot of stuff that they would probably do at, like, just a regular public school, it's not a pub and matter of fact, some of those public schools, man, they might have, like, 40 kids in a class or more. It can get big. So, that's the thing. Sometimes you don't always see, um, like, a standard public school situation when you're in an international school. Like, this is, like even, like, the one I'm at now, they're paying, like, 40, 50 Gs to go to school. Yeah, so it's like this is not like your normal school setup. It's like it's expensive school and, you know, stuff is, it could you'll find some similarities to the States in terms of, like, how it is. But, yeah, but in terms of, like, naps and stuff, um, I've seen other people that had nap rooms and so oh, okay, no. Let me break this down. Okay, let me break this down. It was in China, it was such a problem of students studying. That was the problem. It was like they would study till like 2, 3 in the morning. Yeah, and it was like we had to have like uh assemblies on just like basically like not doing that. So it's yeah. So the interesting thing is, I think there's a stigma on China, particularly that, like, I'll give you one. And this is more like dealing with teaching. I think a lot of people think the kids are like robots, right? And they're so disciplined and behavior and stuff. Man, let's say on the elementary level, that was some of the worst behavior I've ever dealt with in China. Yeah, I see that. Oh yeah, you want to know a funny story? I seen a kid. They kicked their mom in the butt, literally. Yeah, it's like I don't know, but here's the weird thing. No, you can't do that. Try doing that. So I literally like because I was teaching before that like Title One, right? Like um, basically the hood, right? And I preferred that over like where I was in China in elementary. In elementary, now middle was good. Actually, it's weird because as they went older, it was better. But then it depends on the school. It depends on the school. Some of them like some of them really still got kind of wild. They had like big class sizes and stuff like that. And then it really just kind of depends because it was like teaching elementary in China. The thing that got me was you know how like you get kids to line up in a straight line. That's something in the states, right? They would have that nipped in the bud by like no second week of school maybe. It was like freaking second semester, they didn't have those kids lined up. And I was like looking in the hallway. I'm like, yo, it was some of the philosophies that they were trying there. And that's the thing about education. Sometimes they try stuff out, like this new age book stuff. It don't work. It don't work. Some of that stuff don't work in real life. Uh-huh. Right.
Crop really gets to represent the country on a global scale, you know, while the rest is really kind of left behind to be either laborers or be inside the country for different tasks. And so, even if you look at like a country like India, right, and I don't want to misrepresent anyone, right, But if you look at a country like India, whereas in the States, you hear about a lot of the engineers, you hear about more and more CEOs of Fortune 500 countries, right? But then you look at the level of poverty that, many places in India may have, or the level of lack of education that many have, you could be able to tell that only the top cream of the crop are the ones that get to be able to experience, to be able to go out abroad and actually share what it is that the country have to offer.
People that are educated that don't have jobs, or it's the population. Now, and then on the other hand, right? You do have people in Africa. Like if you look at a lot of the Chinese, they're like laborers, right? But then they'll come to Africa, and they'll work on the railroads. They'll open up like Chinese restaurant, that type of stuff, and then you know, so that that here leads the country to do well for themselves.
Your followers know this about you, right? But you're a person that have been to a multitude of countries, right? And you're all over the place. But then you have a large population as well that really don't believe that they can travel, that they can explore, that they can be able to do different kind of things. Where do you think that mindset comes from?
It's like, okay, it's a certain freedom. It's like you feel like on a social level, it's like being at a block party. I'd say you just feel like you belong. And I think that's the thing about, like, if you're someone that's black and you grew up in a lot of environments where you're the minority, there's a power of like going into an environment and just feeling like, no, I belong here. You know what I mean? So it's like that's something that it's nice to be around, but just like on a social level, it wasn't as isolating as the states could be, where everybody just wants to go home and be to themselves. People typically go out, be with their friends. Here you go, like in Kenya, you go to different restaurants and stuff. You'll see a whole table, of 6, 7, 8 people. It reminds me of like watching like What's Happening or something, right? Right. Yes. Right. But I have a question for you. Because my channel is about, I try to focus on what it takes to be abroad, and what do you think is the blueprint for someone that wants to leave the country and relocate? Okay. Okay.
To live, right? But then you realize that from tax purposes, The government is not having it, right? And so I truly believe this, right? That you have to build assets in order to make that move. So what do I mean? If you know that you would normally buy a house in the US for $400,000 in South Africa or Ghana or Kenya, and I don't want to lump all these places together because they have totally different economies. But a place like South Africa, the same house that you can buy for $400,000 or $500,000 in Florida or Texas or New York, you could be able to buy the same house for $130,000, $150,000, right? And then so I believe that making sure that you have either a property that you have a property that you already own, and making sure that you have income that's coming in on a consistent basis, whether it's through investments, whether it's through some type of annuity, whether it's some type of account that you don't have to really worry about income.
Or is okay? We can try that. Yep. So we're just on hold here. This is Expat D here, live from Kenya. I'm welcome everyone that's here on the chat. I see Ahmad here. We talked yesterday. We had a good conversation. Um, I saw Anna here earlier. So yeah, it's
Hey,
nice.
I am back, and hopefully I'm not lagging anymore. Yeah. So what I was saying is that, like, I truly believe that you don't have to be a rich person, right? Like, most people feel that the lifestyle in the US is what the lifestyle is in a place like South Africa, right? And that's what I could be able to go on. It's people in South Florida that's probably paying about $3,000 to $5,000 for an apartment to live. US dollars, right? And I know you have this global community that's listening, and they really don't even understand the magnitude of that, right? Um, uh, the amount that the amount of money that people are putting out on a consistent basis, I think that is absolutely ridiculous. And so I say this as Fatty, right? Um, if you can be able to live at a minimalist type of lifestyle, save up money, invest money, invest in broad, have your have your investments, right? You can be able to live very good. I will give you an example, right? Could you, as an American, right, and that's where we kind of both go from, could you as an American buy a property overseas, rent it out, make money from there, and then go over there abroad and live off of the residual income that you're making off of that investment property? Hmm. Hmm. And that was kind of a rhetorical question because the answer is yes, right? And then also think about this, right? So you have people that's making 60, 70K as a two-person household with kids. They're bringing in about $150,000. They saving money in their 401k, right? At that time, can you cash out of your 401k and be able to live off of dividends? Can you live off of the stocks? And so in my mindset is a lot of different options. Can you go the route that you did, right? Can you be a professional, American professional in a foreign country and bring in a skill that's needed? And so I think about it from all those different standpoints, right? I'm a social butterfly, like my wife like to call me, right? Where I make friends everywhere. So I thought about it. Can I teach the American stock market, abroad? Can I be able to teach real estate abroad? Can I go and talk about venture capitalists abroad? And so I think about it like that. Go ahead, Rodney. Hmm.
I have to look at this and see on replay because this is going well here, but I don't know how it's broadcasting. We might have a little bit of connection issues. I have to check on that. Uh, I see it well on my end, but I'm yeah, yeah, but yeah, those are all different ways of doing it. I think my mind is becoming more open because there's more ways of just like doing YouTube, um, selling products online, doing different things like that. I'm meeting people that's doing that and having success, and it's kind of opening my mind because even man, YouTube, I should have been doing this long time ago. And I didn't understand really like the magnitude of really that this was the way it's done. Like the really going towards this way, and I think I'm becoming more open minded of things that I thought was more fly by night strategies. But one thing I can say though is that when you have children and you move abroad, it's schooling can become a problem. Yeah, schooling can become a problem because it's expensive. Like if I weren't um, if I weren't teaching, man, it would cost me about $40,000 to $50,000 to send my kid to the school that he's at right now. So it's like that is yeah, US dollars. So that's yeah. Every school's not that expensive, but I mean it's not far off. It's like 20, 30 G's, you know. So that's something to think about. Like there's homeschooling options, but that's like, I see a lot of like younger like YouTubers and stuff and like they're single, they don't have kids and I kind of wonder like, if you what are you going to do? If you reach that point and have kids, for schooling. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Buy up communities and be able to have a sharing network of people. So say you have 10 people that decide to be able to pool their money together. You may have one person that has a high amount of money, but you may have three people in that group that are carpenters by trade, by plumbers, that are electricians, that could be able to build that. You may have two people, you talk about education, you may have two people that are teachers, right? They can be able to teach the village of kids that's over there now. And so I look at it from that standpoint there and say, yes, it's many different ways that you can be able to do it. You can be able to go the old route. Hey, I want to move here when I'm retired at 60, 65 years old. Or you could go the new route and say, hey, I'm going to be a YouTube, person or a personality, and I'm going to make my money this way. But I also be able to think that maybe as a collective group, that you can literally make moves that will actually help you expedite the whole process and live within the community in a new continent and live greater than you ever have around the people that actually want you there.
It's because from a social level, it's nice to be able to meet people. You know what I mean? And it's like every the locals. Every country you don't get that with the locals. A lot of them is more of a closed society, and you live in more of a foreign bubble. Yeah, it was like that for me in Syria. Um, it was really like that in China. Um, that's really how it is. A lot of places, not like that. In the place I've been in Africa, wasn't like that.
Countries because you're kind of like an expat that's living in the bubble in a foreign place. But that's one thing that I actually loved about living in Africa as well.
I forget his name. I was listening to a YouTuber in Thailand, um, and he said that he goes, he might go a whole week without talking to anybody. And I was like, "Whoa!" Then when I went there this last time, and like I got it. I was like, I can see that because a lot of the right that are also there, like particularly like in Europe, your people aren't really like they don't have the culture of like speaking to you if they don't know you. That's how it is in a lot of like the European countries and stuff like that. So they have their own little bubble of people. So you get and then Thai people really just kind of mess with Thai people. So you can really find yourself in like a bubble, like a very small or by yeah.
Goes from country to country, continent to continent. How was that experience for you?
At my job that I get to meet, so that's not an issue. But when I do just travel, it depends. I typically travel with the family, but if I were by myself, like it really it depends and where it depends on the country. And I mean, now that I'm doing YouTube, like just researching like different content creators and mixing with them, it gives me something to do. Gives me a chance to be social. But and I really feel like that's a good skill to know how to meet people or how to make adult friends. It's a yeah, because it's not because the places I've lived, um, like I lived in Vegas, right? And man, I had a couple people like migrated there from California, but it was hard, man. It was just like when you're not in school, and it kind of depends on how you operate at work. Like some people don't like to have foreign friends, like work friends. Some people like to just kind of keep that work and personal life separate. It could be, for someone that moves away from their hometown, it could be tough. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
This is probably one of my last thoughts. I believe that as I'm back in the States and people hear, hey, you have lived in Africa, right? Because they don't even, most people here in the US, they kind of in the bubble. They like Africa just a country, right? Not even a continent, right? Yeah, right. So you have been in Africa. Do people speak English? Do What kind of food people eat? Do they eat regular food? Do they have clothes that I can go shopping? Do they have stores that I can feel safe in? Will I be okay walking down the street? And so what I'm saying to you is like, I believe more people will be okay with living abroad and even traveling abroad at extended time if they actually understood what being abroad actually means. You know, not necessarily understanding all the dynamics, because you really can't understand the dynamics until you actually there and experience and walk and sit down, and eat at people's table. But just being able to understand, like, it's okay. It is okay if you're outside of the United States bubble.
You want me to go to China? Man, hell no. You want me,
Yeah.
you
which,
know,
which, which is really funny. Which is really funny if you don't mind, right?
yeah,
That this is very popular channel, Earn Your Leisure, right?
yeah,
Here in the U.S. That the one of the guys, he actually went to China and spent like 2 weeks there, and
yeah.
now it has been a hot topic. And then another guy, Wall Street Trapper, he's in China right now, or just came back from
Oh,
China. And so
yeah.
I find more people. I find that China is becoming more socially accepted amongst
Mhm.
people now, in traveling abroad has been more socially accepted because of the power of YouTube. So I'm
Right,
really happy that it's there. Yes,
right.
yes,
Yeah, that's something that people are becoming more open minded to. But yeah, but and that's the thing. It's a good it's you'd be surprised. Like life's pretty good outside the states too. Yeah, pretty good.
and for health purposes, oh my goodness, this is the hugest, biggest one, man. For health purposes, I feel sick while I'm in the States. Sick. I feel overweight. I feel I feel like I'm not breathing clean air. And there's nothing against, anything, I'm not anti nothing, right? But as I travel abroad, right, like I know in South Africa, you're higher. The elevation over sea level is much higher in South Africa, right? And so you're physically, literally breathing a different quality of air. You know, you can go into any store here in the US, in let's just say Florida, and you will probably spend, if you get a refrigerator full of fruit that will last you about 2 or 3 days, you probably spend about a good 50, $60. When I was in South Africa, I probably can fill a refrigerator with fruit for like $10. And then so you find yourself going down the chip aisle because it's cheaper. You find yourself going down the ice cream aisle because it's a buy one get one free. You find yourself looking over the bananas that they, one of them say organic, the other one says regular, but organic is higher. But they look the exact same and they're sitting right next to each other, so you assume that it's coming from the same farm. So you like, I just grabbed a box of Pringles or the Ruffles. So you know from that standpoint there, I can say that physically I feel freer. And I'll leave it on that. I feel freer physically, spiritually abroad in the continent of Africa than I do here in the States. Yes.
Think about close to 45 minutes. This is great, man. I feel like we can go on forever, huh? Yeah. But I know it's getting.
I guess we got to get it both. We got to get on the fiber, man. We'll be all right. But this is what happens when you're trying to connect two worlds together, though. And I don't have any problem with that. Like, if you're okay with talking to one person that's in the U.S. and talking to another person in Kenya, or talking to someone that's in South Africa versus the other person that's in Syria or China at the time, then this is what you're going to get. And I love it. Yes.
Tell people that's watching this, what's your channel?
And the theme is brick by brick. So building it brick by brick.
Get more of your backstory because there's still a lot. Yeah, yeah. Still, there's still a lot I got to do. We got to do some more catching up. Yeah, yeah. All right. So thanks for joining me, man. We got to do this again. Okay. All right. You too. All right. Bye.